A canopy of trees covered the road over the top of me as I traveled that unfamiliar gravel stretch, when suddenly everything around me changed and I was in a completely different place and knew how to get home. Welcome to Paranormal Christian. Let's tell stories. When I was 16 years old, there was a young man that had asked me to give him a ride home from a class that I was taking. And I didn't know him too well, but I didn't mind to give him a ride. It was almost sundown at the time that I was getting him to his house. And so he navigated the way, telling me all the places to turn, and I was in very unfamiliar territory. Anyway, I got him home, and I simply asked him, how do I get back to the highway? He said, it's real easy. He said, you go to the end of this road, you make a right, follow it out, and it'll bring you to the highway. Absolutely not true. And so I did what he told me to do, and I only ended up more lost than I had ever been. Now, at the time, I did have a cell phone, rather a car phone. You remember the old bag phones, and you would put the antenna on top of your car. This would have been around 1998, I think, 97, 98. No, I was 16, so this would have been 97. And I give him the ride home. I leave, I get lost, and it wouldn't do me any good to call anybody because there's no GPS. I couldn't tell them where I am or ask them how to get away from the spot that I was in. And so I just kept driving, and it kept getting worse. Finally, I saw a house, and I thought, I'm going to stop, I'm going to knock on the door, and I'm going to ask these people, how do I get back to the highway? So I parked my car in their driveway. I began to walk across their lawn. I made my way up the steps to the porch. I opened the storm door and I knocked on the door. As soon as I knocked on the door, I heard the most disturbing sound behind me. It was that of a large German shepherd who was not welcoming me into his yard. And he had come around, I suppose, from the back to let me know that I needed to leave. Now the German shepherd is between me and my car, and he's intent on hurting me and growling. He began to come toward me. The most I could do to protect myself was to put my back against the front door of these people's home and to pull the storm door against me. At that moment, the old lady that lived in the house opened the door, and much to her surprise and mine, I fell backwards into her house, startling the old lady and making me feel very, very embarrassed. I looked at her and I apologized. I pointed to the dog and I said, I'm so sorry. I said, I was knocking on your door and the dog was coming. And she said, oh, he doesn't bite. He wouldn't hurt anybody, which is what everybody says right before their dog totally terrorizes your life. And so I began to explain to the lady the situation. She called the dog off. I don't remember exactly how that went down or if he came past me into the house. And she told me how to get back to the highway. Also wrong. As I left her house, it was starting to get darker outside. I'm traveling a gravel road that I've never seen before. There's a canopy of trees going over the top of me. It felt so strange, so surreal. I simply prayed and asked the Lord to get me home. Suddenly, I look around me. There are no more trees around me. There is no more gravel road. There is no canopy going over the top of me. And I was in a completely familiar area. As I looked behind me, if I looked to the sides, if I looked forward, I knew exactly where I was, and I had gotten there in less than a second's time and knew how to get home. I think God rescued me. I think God translated me. You might think I'm crazy, and you might be right, but I cannot come up with any other explanation how all of my surroundings vanished in an instant, and I was right back on track and knew how to get home. Have you ever had anything like this happen? Has God ever taken you out of an impossible situation and immediately planted you somewhere else? When I think about these types of things, I also think about stories of lost time, where somebody is at a particular place at 2 o'clock and then they spend hours and only minutes have passed. There are a lot of these strange things that we simply cannot explain, and here at Paranormal Christian, I want to look at those things. I'm interested in learning about them. I want to know the extraordinary experiences of ordinary people. Would you share this story with everybody you can? Would you follow us and subscribe? Would you visit paranormalchristian.com, fill out the contact form, and send us your experiences? May I have your permission to share them here with everybody. Keep those stories coming and keep them PC.